They didn't like you up, so.
Where's your pencil? You see that little
Lewis was a little bit wordy, but always good.
So Bart, what we're discussing a little bit is the parking enforcement position, that 28,000. We know kind of, you know, they've been doing some random enforcement with the, I guess, the traffic safety officer. You know, could that be enough to just kind of see if that changes behaviors before we hire a full-time, I mean, a part-time position? You know,
I can try. I know that we were proceeding with advertising that vacancy and trying to fill it, but I can talk to Chief Lewis about that.
yeah, you know, what we maybe, because Ann told us, well, I'll throw it out there. You know, I mentioned it to Ann earlier, you know, is now really the right time to go to 15 cents on the beat pole for everybody? You know, is there a way to go with the 10 cents, make some of these smaller cuts, still be able to balance the budget? You know, find it 60,000 in, you know, additional real estate revenue. You know, that, I think that 15 cent, we anticipated that would generate another 200,000. So now we're down to 140, plus the 20 we did for the EDA, for the grant program. So we're at 160. We're out of balance, 160. But we eliminate the animal control person for right now. That's 95. So we're now down to 65,000. And if we eliminated this part-time position, which is probably about 30 with benefits, I don't know if they had benefits, but with taxes and everything. So now we're down, what, 35, 40?
We weren't talking about
28,407.
Yeah, we're not talking about eliminate, we're talking about,
freezing it for
Freezing
now,
temporarily.
with the conversation's been.
you know, I mean, I don't know how many people, I mean, I've gotten a few calls today on this bee pole.
There were some Facebook conversations.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to those, but.
Well, I know, but that's what caused people to call us, what I was saying.
But, I mean, you know, one business owner did have a good point. You know, the economy is struggling right now for business, you know, and, I mean, I mean, I don't discount that, you know, that's out there. But
So how close would that get us with what you just said?
I think around 40, is that right, Ann? So we need to find another
40.
40, but didn't we have some contingency even over the 20? When we,
So
that
let's
was
go back.
it.
All right, so let's go back in. So we eliminated B pole and then we balanced it. All right, so we eliminated VLF. So that's here,
Yeah, we eliminated the motor vehicle tax, which was roughly
198.
98.
So now we're in the whole 198,600. So then no change on B pole from the proposed budget. We increased it for, let's see, we brought in 235,000. We're gonna bring in an additional 30,000. So we said we were gonna bring it up to 270. Minus 20. This doesn't increase it much at all. We had 263,000 in the budget for B pole. Let me go look at my sheet.
That's at the 15 cent or that's at the 10 cent?
That's in the current budget, or the proposed budget at 10 cents. We had 263,000. So. sense.
Sorry, I know. Threw a wrinkle in it tonight. You expected that, didn't you?
Always.
Okay, what else have you cut since I was?
We haven't, no, we haven't
Just got
yet.
started.
We haven't yet, you know, we're trying not to, you know, I mean,
Because again, I'll mention,
Is there anything-
there's not a lot of fluff in this budget. I mean,
Yeah.
any reductions are gonna impact level of service.
right, yeah, right. There's no
that
unfilled
can go
positions
up.
right now. Is there any unfilled positions that are in this budget that,
Not in the
Good
budget, not that we anticipate being vacant. In fact, we've frozen the assistant
other than the
public works
part-time
director.
and,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Is there any adjustment in the line item for the public works director?
No.
Now we're within
Okay, all right.
targeted budget for that.
We are eliminating 198,600. We can add back by leaving it at 10 cents per 100 to all categories, 50,695 to people. Then we can add back 60,000 for real estate coming in over. So then our deficit's 87,905. So then if you freeze the police officer position, that's another 95,000. You freeze the part-time, that's 28,000. So you have 35,000. You are moving 20,000 to the EDA, so you have a surplus of 15,000.
What do y'all think? I mean, board, you know, I mean, like Stacy said earlier, you know, we're starting to see some behavior change downtown, I think, with parking. You know, if we come back and at the end of May, maybe, and come back and talk about that parking fines, I think that might encourage it even more. I kind of like the random, like Todd said, the randomness of them just kind of showing up, you know, doesn't.
Yeah, if we have a designated person, everybody knows who that is.
Right, exactly, and knows what their schedule's like and all that stuff, so, I mean,
But if this person has other duties other than parking, his or her rounds are gonna be altered because of something else may come up.
but I don't know if does that part-time position have other duties much?
Not right now, they don't.
Right. Was Ronnie planning on
Yeah.
some part?
He was, but again, there were a lot of contingencies at play there.
Okay,
I think I remember our last parking person, they was not certified as a police officer, right?
Correct.
right.
This also includes the 20-cent MNT in the proposed budget. So if that does not pass, that's around $90,000.
Right, okay. I don't think, I haven't thought on that. I mean, I think we should get machinery and tools in town myself. Well, we don't have to vote, because we're not voting on it. Well, we could vote on that tonight if we decided we want the 10 cent. But we don't have to make that decision tonight, you know.
Well, we're just leaving that at 10 cents, which is.
Down to the 2 million level.
I think it's in the personal property ordinance, so you would have to not pass any of the personal property tax rates tonight.
Oh, the M&T?
Yeah, the only tax rate we really need to pass is real estate, so.
Yeah, so you'd have to defer the personal property tax rate.
And real estate's not changing, so.
No,
Correct.
there's no change there.
That's just so we can get the bills out.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
And not to belabor the process, but take as much time as you're comfortable with. You don't have to.
But we can go ahead
Take
and have
action.
the public hearing on all these tonight, and then if we raised any of them, we would have to
You'd have to re-advertise.
re-advertise. We'd just go ahead and have the okay. Let's chew on that a little bit. See, y'all have a conversation too, you know, because like I said, I know this is kind of thrown out, you know. Or if you see something else that I know there's not any fluff, but if you see something else, if you feel like it's more critical to have the part-time position in with the police department, you know, or is there something else, that we can tweak? But I know it's tight. I mean, and I appreciate that because, you know, we're not using any of our fund balance. You know, and we're still not doing much capital, but, you know, I mean, we're making, you know, I think we're moving in the right direction, but how fast, I guess the question is how fast do we wanna move?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because these, even though, you know, these business taxes were there 10 years ago, you know, there are some newer businesses, and, you know, and it's,
Don't want to hit them too hard.
you know, and the economy's hopefully gonna get better, but, you know, it's, you know, it is a little tough right now, probably, for most of them. So, anyway, let's just,
I have one more thing too, before we get off this, page 82. Now, I know we, correct me if I'm wrong, we did sign into a vehicle lease program last year, correct?
Yes.
But it says vehicle replacement went from 135 all the way to $200,000. I didn't know if that was because of the equipment,
Basically, we did that because we felt like we could accomplish some operational objectives at 200,000, namely replacing the old fleet, promoting the take-home vehicle program, and could manage that overall without compromising other parts of the budget.
okay, I didn't know if that was because of the equipment to put on the cars or how that was working.
I'd call that a strategic decision.
It's 8 additional vehicles is the reason why
there wasn't a vehicle in there for animal control, was there?
No, it's 8 patrol vehicles added. I think that's the amount that they needed to get to take home.
To get it, okay.
They didn't have enough vehicles to offer it.
Yeah, I don't wanna take, I mean, I think that, I've gotten used to that idea, I don't want to go back against that idea.
Seems to be a pretty successful program so far,
Right,
the rental program in general.
yeah.
And we have asked the departments to look at expanding that.
Right.
I was just asking that question.
No, glad you did.
I was wanting to clarify that.
Yep, that's the explanation.
All right, any other questions, or, all right, let's, all right, so, we wanted to spend some time just kind of understanding, the electric department budget, make sure, you know, have some discussion around, obviously, the $20 increase in the, customer fee, and, you know, make sure kind of we understand what's going on there. Ann and I've talked about this a good bit, and I know Ann and John's talked about it a good bit about, at least some concerns I have about running through gas, you know,
Can we just back up 1 second? That $20 was coming from a $10 increase in the customer charge.
okay,
And then the rest we were thinking would come out of the PCA.
okay.
But I recalculated the PCA with the latest numbers that we have, and it's not $10, it's $2.25.
Okay, so the PCA, okay, so basically the $10, so the $10 increase would be, go from $20 to $30.
Right,
Yeah.
right, which is what we had with the storm cost
Right.
recovery.
Which, you know, for us guys up here, I'll be honest, for me, it's a little bit of a tough one to swallow,
Yeah.
because, you know,
Let me put that in perspective though quickly. As of today, if we added the $10 and also the $2 or so for PCA, we would be around, for a typical bill, about $141. At APCO today, their bill for the same usage is $171.99. So we're 36% with that increase. We're still 22% below APCO.
but my question, John, is that the best way to get additional revenues if we need them? Or is it better to, I mean, the last time we actually had a study and looked at the rates was 2016.
True.
And, you know, obviously, when you put that $10 on there, that's affecting probably the people that could pay it the least.
Well, let me stop you right there. You know, before I came here, I was a consultant for decades. And I was in a rate case in the state of Maine where we did the same thing. We were increasing customer charges. And I'll give you some reasons why that's desirable. And I was only the witness stand, and we had done some studies, and we had the consumer advocate that said, well, you know, the low-income people can't afford this. And we said, that's not true, because the low-income people are actually high-usage people. They're not low-usage people. So the $10 for them is less of a burden than it is for someone who uses less kilowatt hours and has a lower bill. So low income doesn't automatically mean low use. It's almost just the opposite, because what you find is a lot of low income folks live in semi-public housing. They don't have great insulation. They don't have the most efficient appliances or heat pumps or any of that. So they're actually higher usage people. So I disagree when the idea that low income means low usage. It's not so.
And I will add to that, at one point I did what was called a customer servicer job, work type bill complaints, and John is exactly right. You would be surprised in doing a meter test and checking high bills, how much in the wintertime they use little space heaters.
That's true.
And some of them even turn on the oven
Right.
to warm the house. And
Yeah.
so, but they still can afford the bills.
Yeah,
But there's also assistance out there too they can go to,
yes.
that, to get part of their bill paid. So it's a lot of help out there for the low income, but that rate right per month is very good.
And let's take another view of this. One of the things that we have in eroding our position is rooftop solar. So by placing additional cost recovery in the customer charge, you're going to recover more cost from those folks that have rooftop solar, as we should, because they still use the system just like anybody else. We still have to serve them when the sun doesn't shine. So the distribution system still has to be in place to support someone with rooftop solar. And getting that recovery up front is the appropriate way to recover our distribution costs from those folks.
So let me switch tacks a little bit on this. So, on the purchase power part of your budget, so right now we're trending, demand's down, you know, we're trending at about 14.3 million this year in purchase power costs. And we're budgeting for 15.8, 15.8.
Yes.
About a $1.5 million increase in purchase power costs.
Well,
Why, I mean, if we're trending this way, demand is down, are you telling me the cost of purchase power is going up 10% next year?
What I'm telling you is that we budget our purchase power for normal weather, okay? The past few years have been warmer than normal. So we haven't had the type of sales in the winter that we normally have. Now, it just so happens that last week I was at an AMP meeting, and I met with the gurus that do the forecasts. And I said, is this the new normal, that we're going to have warmer weather and less sales? And they said, absolutely not. We still need to budget for normal weather. So, but remember, purchase power and PCA go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
So if our purchase power is down, our PCA revenue will be down also. So they offset each other. So I don't get real uptight about that purchase power forecast, because I know it's going to be offset by a reduction. So
Yeah, but it's not being, but if you're overestimating the purchase power cost, and your purchase power revenues, I mean, your sales revenues, then that gap is gonna be bigger than if you were more conservative, which means you're gonna automatically spend more in your
No,
operational
why would you
budget.
say the gap is going to be bigger? Because purchase power, because the PCA is going to reduce at the same rate as if our kilowatt hour sales are lower.
Now, I'm talking about your net margin.
Yeah,
So because you got margin on every sales,
yeah.
so if you raise your sales revenue forecast,
And we raised our purchase power forecast.
yeah, but that, you had to offset that with a raise in revenues. You didn't lower your revenue estimate.
Well, no, but we didn't lower our purchase power estimate either. What happens is a dynamic situation. If we sell less, our revenues will come down.
And you'll have less money to pay for operating
Well,
expenses.
that's only if the revenue is offset at a lower rate than the purchase power cost. Okay. And so I think it's just the opposite. But having said that, we don't make a return on energy. The return is on.
Well, that gap is what funds everything else.
Yeah,
That
but
gap
you're
between what
looking
you
at,
said.
you're looking at the gap in the rate versus cost. The purchase power and the PCA are dollar for dollar. We don't make a profit on energy. We make a profit on base rates. Or we don't make, I shouldn't say a profit, we don't make any profit. We make surplus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Because the PCA is only designed to recover the cost.
Well, let me chime in, and I may be out of my depth here, but there's an operational perspective here too with purchase power. We can't short ourselves. We've got to make sure we secure enough power for our customers to use.
Right, but
The trends have been outside of the projected use, but if the weather returns to normal, we can't underbuy because we're kind of locked in at a point in time with what we have. And if we buy less than we need, we're going to have to shop
on the
for
market.
other sources.
Yeah, you're gonna buy it on the market.
So just from the budget perspective, the budget being a work plan, keep that in mind.
Right.
What you're talking about is actual cash flow, and I appreciate that, but
Yeah.
it's slightly different than what we're talking about.
Now, we have reduced our revenue, our sales revenue by 4% in this budget.
So you reduce sales revenue and raise costs.
Well, what was the budget last year for purchase power?
But your PCA is not coming in where you budgeted for it this year. So like the cost is less this year and the revenue is less next coming in.
Yeah, but it changes every 6 months, so we'll catch, we eventually do catch
Back
up.
collecting.
Right. And that's what the PCA is for.
That's right.
But the costs are probably going up.
Yeah, like when we met on it, we have personnel costs that were included in base rate, and those have grown over the last
Right.
several years without base
Substantially in
rate
this
growing.
budget. They're gonna grow substantially in this budget too.
Correct.
Yes.
We're trying to do what we committed to do and
Yeah.
get our employees to, market rate. I
Yeah.
mean,
And inflation in your purchase.
I was just
like,
saying, there's other
supply.
factors outside of personnel though, too.
Yeah.
I don't want to jump into politics, but the regulatory environment has the ability to really impact us past November in ways that could be bad.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we had major legislation this year in terms of our disconnect policies.
right, yeah, that's
Change.
concerning, obviously,
Yeah, changed significantly.
which is not gonna affect your budget as much, but it's gonna affect your cash flow for sure, and, this budget, what are we saying we're gonna use out of our,
Reserves about a little over $1 million.
yeah, so we're building a budget that says we're gonna use $1 million worth of our cash.
Right. And
That's,
our
to
cash
me,
as
just
of-
concerning.
Our cash
It's
as of the
concerning.
end of March was over $10 million.
Yeah, but it's coming, it was actually increasing, now it's actually decreasing as fast as it was
It's a
increasing.
very slight decrease, as Ann can tell you. It's, over last year, it's $9,600 decrease
Part-
Decrease,
as of March.
right,
And part of that is, we've met yesterday and we reviewed the capital items, and we have several projects that we think are not gonna be rolled over and not completed, to the tune of like 500,000.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
are gonna not be rolled over.
Correct. So
Correct.
that's gonna help the cash position that I originally forecasted. So instead of $1 million in the hole, this year we're looking to be about 500,000 in the hole.
From the cash.
Well, let me mention too, about a year ago, we had the $1 million unforeseen increase. We only recovered 800,000 of that. So
Right,
Right.
we've kind of set a precedent of eating some of these losses.
Good,
Right.
that's a good point, yeah. And as Bart said, everything in the market, everything we buy has been increasing in price. So, and with projects like the Chantel project, we don't have a choice. We've got to spend what we need to keep up with them. Now, we're recovering most of that from
Right.
them, but not 100%. So, I feel confident that between what we won't spend this year and probably won't spend next year in capital, because you can't get material. We like to plan for that. I feel comfortable that our cash balance will not be too much different at the end of next year as it is this year.
So let's talk, one piece of capital, the $350,000 for the bucket truck. So what's the time frame on ordering that and getting it delivered and having to pay for that?
I don't think we'll see it in the next fiscal year, probably the year after that.
So can we spread that expense over 2 years?
We could, but if we don't spend it this year, it'll just lapse back into surplus.
Or you would reduce how much surplus you're using this year on capital,
Yeah.
I think.
Kind of the way we could budget, earmark some like we do the fire trucks.
Right, but, earmark
Because it's probably an 18-month at the earliest.
$150,000,
Probably.
or half of it, that saves you
I'm
$175,000 there.
I'm just chiming in, don't mind me.
Yeah. I mean, the lead time for those capital items are extended, but we don't know. They could come to us and say, hey, somebody else in line didn't take their truck.
Well, or you come back to us and say, look, here's where our cash position is right now. We appropriated the additional $175,000 to go ahead and buy it now because it's ready now, but, what year vehicles that we're replacing?
I'm sorry.
What year vehicles that we're replacing?
It's one that's about 18 or 20 years old.
So, I know we've been replacing them pretty fast, so we've pretty much caught up on, are we getting caught up on?
We need to get another small bucket truck. And the other thing that has to come somewhere down the road is our trenching machine, which is not in this budget. But somewhere down the road, the trenching machine is 35 years old. And it's worn out.
So I have a question. The one we replaced last year, how old was that one?
That was around 15 years old. Yeah. Or maybe even older. We're down to one of the larger trucks being replaced.
I mean, how quick could we get a rate study done, you think, with AMP, like we did last time?
Probably 3 or 4 months, or maybe 6 months. But my position on that is, I know the people that did the rate study. I wouldn't hire them again because they were not up to the level that I would expect.
Well, is there someone else that can do it?
Well, we could probably find someone. But, to me, I have a high bar. Being a rate consultant for 30 years.
Right, I get that, but you gotta understand, we gotta sell this to our customers, and I've already heard it, oh, yep, they said they were gonna not raise that $10, but temporarily, and here it is, it's gonna be permanent now, so,
It may be permanent, though. I mean,
Well, it may
I'm
be.
sorry, I mean, I understand the political pressure you're under, but
It may be, but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know how anybody else
It
feels.
was supposed to last for how long?
Huh?
It was supposed to last for how long?
Oh, it expired. It
and we did not cover 100% of our costs.
Right.
Right.
I mean, I know you guys are getting hammered, but the answer is we didn't recover 100% of it.
Yeah.
And this is a utility. This isn't, I mean,
But we knew
We-
that going in though. didn't
Yeah, we made that
knew
decision.
We wasn't gonna
Okay,
recover
right.
100%.
I mean, I understand nobody wants to pay for anything in today's world, but things have cost.
And when I look at APCO, who's, they're going up another $20 January 1st. So it'll be $191 to us at $141 with the proposed increase.
And I will say, I'm not getting any or hammered by anybody on the rates or electric bills because they know what I'm going to tell them. Just what John said. Go to another utility and you'll appreciate this one. Much better as far as service. Your lights are going to stay off longer somewhere else. Your power is going to get back on quicker here. These guys are going to be home here. They're going to go out late at night. They're not going to say, we'll get it first thing in the morning, because it's a safety issue. But the rates here are good. I don't know where all this is coming from, and I understand it. But at one point, we were higher, much higher, than Appalachian Power. And now the fact that we're, $30 or so lower,
Yes.
That says a lot right there to me, having been in this business a good part of my life, where it's a very unstable market. I mean, it's like trying to predict a rainy day. Very much like that, in that you're gonna have some freezing winters, which we have not. And that's where you're gonna make your money. Just like you're gonna have some very hot, burning up summers. That's where you're gonna make your money. But when they're all mild, you don't get that profit. But you have to prepare for it. I think that's what we're trying to get across here. You can't undercut yourself and then need more money or need more power, and you're gonna pay top dollar for it.
Let me just point out that this year, we're 75% of the way through the year, our fiscal year. And we've collected 73, almost 74% of the projected base revenue. So we're right on.
That's total revenue, or no, base rate, you're right.
The base rate revenue.
But there's a lot of line items too that are way over budget.
Well, yeah, I don't.
Way over budget, yeah.
I don't.
And that's what's bleeding the cash, you know, so.
Yeah.
But,
And we do have a healthy cash position, but we are seeing in fiscal year 22, we used cash. In fiscal year 23, we used cash. And we think this year we're gonna use cash. So we are starting to see cash usage.
so what do we got, not counting this year on that large debt payment? 3 more years, 1.8 million is what we owe on that loan.
I think it comes out in 26. I think you have one more and
20.
it comes out.
Yeah. and-
So 2 more years in the
I
payment?
think it's 25 this budget year and the following, and then it's gone.
Right. And that will be the perfect opportunity to do.
Yeah, and that's why I was hoping to get there without making major changes, you know, to get to that 2 years, but.
Yeah, if you look at page 54, that's where you can see the future years on the electric fund.
How much money are we supposed to have in the bank? Was there a set by,
That's 6 million.
so we're over what we're supposed to have?
Yeah.
25%.
Well over what we're supposed to have.
Yeah, if you're looking at the budget document, page 38, we call it working capital. And you can see there's a blue line in there, and
Yeah.
that's where our working capital's at. And then that dotted red line, that's our policy.
Okay.
And I'll say this out loud, you can use cash to kind of float for a little while, but you can't live on it long term.
No, you can, exactly.
Right, but we need to get down to where we're supposed to be though, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't feel there's any problem being over, but I wouldn't want to go below that. And that's.
That's a change in tune. Because I've asked that question of you many times, John, and you know.
Well,
But
you know, and again, I just want to point out that as of March, we're only $9,600 below where we were last year. For
Which was a
cash.
big change, because in, I think it was January, we were short like 400,000. Like, we had gone through a lot of cash. So we recovered quite a bit of cash
Right.
in February, March.
January, February, March are when the cash register goes.
where what's our cash position right now? Like
10,191,486. And I know that the mayor, you're uncomfortable with all that extra cash, so why not use it to offset any other type of rate changes?
Yeah, I was uncomfortable when it was at 12 million, 12.5 million or whatever it was, you know, yes, I
It's
was.
at 14.7
But
million in
now,
21.
I'm also now getting a little uncomfortable it's going down.
In fiscal year 21, we ended at 14.7 million.
So we've gone down, what's that, 3 years? Gone down $4 million in cash?
Three and a half years. Yeah, yeah. But we're just where we were last year. So,
But like you said, we're not in it to make money, so we've got to get
No.
at the level where we need to, you know, do we, you know, if not, if we're not comfortable with 6 million, then we need to raise the policy up. And if we are, then we should be working down to that 6 million point.
The
We should be, yeah.
Sorry, the recommendation on that, just make sure it's on one-time expenses.
I was about to mention capital.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm not saying taking out operating, but I'm.
And I'll note, we're doing a loss study right now of the system, which may imply that we need some more capital projects. I mean, if we're, whatever percentage that we're losing through heat transfer or whatever, there may be a corresponding expenditure to pick that back up.
Yeah.
And electric capital projects aren't cheap.
Yeah,
all.
they sure are. And a lot of the time, we don't have a choice, you know, a pole gets damaged. I'll just give you an example. This year alone, we probably spent $300,000 or $400,000 on woodpecker damage. And when the woodpeckers destroy a pole, we just can't ignore it. We gotta fix it.
And it takes how much longer to get a metal pole than it does a wooden pole?
Yeah, we have installed some metal poles. Let me give you another example. There's a key pole right at the end of Shady Knoll. It was a wood pole. We replaced that twice in the past 4 years because woodpeckers have destroyed it. We finally put a steel pole in there. The woodpecker moved down to the next pole. I mean, woodpecker, he's having a feast on us.
Well, just think, we had animal control, the woodpeckers wouldn't be in.
And, you know, there's nothing we can do about the woodpeckers.
You know, I'm curious, John, how much have poles increased, the price of them through the years? I know with Appalachian years back, we would get a truckload of poles like every other month.
Yeah.
But now it's a backlog, and and transformers the same way.
The transformers are much worse. They've probably doubled in price. But the wood poles have probably increased maybe 30–40%.
Good gosh.
And steel poles probably 50%.
Wow.
So if we went to $5 increase instead of 10, how much would you have to determine you'd have to probably cut out of your budget?
Well, the $10 is about $840,000, so $420,000.
So if we went to $5, $420, $175 on the truck. So now we're down, what's that, $420? Are there other opportunities?
Well,
Let's talk about the right-of-way crew for a minute. You got 2 positions there. How many crews do you currently have there?
we have 2 crews in the right-of-way group.
Okay.
One crew is doing work with the bucket trucks, so like local trees. The other crew is doing right-of-way up towards Big Island with the
So how much of those unfulfilled positions that you've been unfulfilled for a good while?
yeah, I think we have 1 open position. We don't intend to fill that.
Okay, so we can take that, how much is?
But we also, what we did is we actually had 2 open positions, but we transferred one from the tree crew to an apprentice position, which we do want to fill. But the other
Okay,
2
so let's talk about the one position.
Hold on, I can tell you 1 second.
I'm just trying to reach a compromise with you, because
Is that
you
your,
haven't sold me yet on the $10.
is that your part-time position?
Sorry?
Is that your part-time position?
Um,
Or is that in addition to the
That
part-time?
was a part-time position.
That was part-time, okay.
Right. And then we're also, our elder statesman engineer is going to be retiring for the 4th time. So we're not going to be able to fill that position either.
Okay.
So that's going to go.
So the right-of-way is a decrease of 35,782, because that was a part-time position. And then the engineer, part-time, that was 27,267 a year.
I mean, you made much of a dent, yeah.
No. John, I'm going to ask a silly question here, and I know there's a logical explanation for it. Tree trimming, you have full-time positions for that.
Yes,
Most other utilities contracted out.
yes.
So are your full-time employees, you feel like they're more efficient and get more done, or what is the reasoning for
Well,
having that full-time crew?
I do think it's more efficient because we have more control over that, number 1. Number 2, our tree crew personnel are more than tree crew. They are also ground hands.
Okay, all right.
So when there's an outage, the A lineman who is tracking the outage will call in the other often he'll call in tree crew guys to be ground hands for him,
Okay.
rather than another A line.
All right.
And that's how we're trying to reduce our overtime cost, is have
Okay,
them
okay.
use
I got you.
a ground man rather than another A lineman. Now, sometimes they must have two A linemen.
Right.
But, you know, the way the OSHA rules are now, you can't get up in a bucket truck without having a ground hand.
Well, you gotta have at least two people.
Right.
Yeah, because up in there, you gotta have somebody on the ground.
That's right. So the only thing the first responder can do is change a fuse. You know, he can do that by himself. And a few other things, but if there's anything up in the air, he's got to get help.
Yeah, yeah.
So what does that look like then?
So we need 182,000 basically. Can we take it out of the infrastructure account and then when stuff comes in during the year, we can appropriate it there?
We could, but that's how I cope with emergencies.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Now, we could reduce it. It's normally 250. We could make it half of that, 125.
So it's 350 in the budget this year. So if you take out 182, I think you'd still be in
Yeah,
a good spot.
350. Well,
You'd be at 168.
yeah, well, I know we'll probably spend that, but yeah. Yeah, we could do that.
Is that how much?
So he can decrease infrastructure improvement account from 350,000 to 168. And then as unexpected stuff comes in during the year, we can appropriate budget.
Based on our cash on hand and that kind of stuff. If real emergencies, we're gonna have to do it, but. The last one, John, and then I'll see if anybody else got any questions, is the on-call. So we've talked about that, and, you know, I've talked to Lockview, and we understand that, you know, we've got to provide that, you know, and pay something for that. My question is, and I know it's been this number forever, and don't know where it came from and how whoever calculated it, but the 12 hours.
That's a common number among the municipal utilities here in Virginia. So we probably, at one point, they all got together, and that's how they came up.
Well, maybe we all ought to get together and lower that number.
You think they're still around?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, let me tell you that trying to take something away from those folks, let me just finish, is going to create trouble.
But remember how much we're increasing their salary this year too.
I understand that.
I mean, we are giving them a substantial pay increase.
And I understand that.
And,
Well, let me just go,
Yeah,
let me
I'll
just,
speak, let me speak on your part,
yeah.
but they do a great job there.
I get that.
You know,
No doubt.
and they respond quickly, so being on call and being compensated for that on call.
But what's the-
12 hours for a week is really, I mean, we're not.
And the increase was pegged toward another municipality, and we're not matching them.
Right, right.
And that was the direction we were given by council to follow.
Yeah, and the
And
amount,
We're not in the market still.
yeah, and the
We're
amount we're
in our
talking about
market.
it was $60,000, if I remember right, for the on call
I think
out of the budget, so it's not,
it might grow to that this
Yeah,
year.
It's gonna grow based on the new
Yeah.
salaries.
It's currently at like 30 to 40,000.
Right.
We think
and
it's
it'll
gonna
probably grow to
yeah.
60, yeah.
Well, it'll probably be 50 or 55. in that
Okay.
range. Yeah, but that, you know, I think one thing that we're very fortunate, that we have excellent response times. We don't want to do anything to jeopardize that.
We've never questioned that, you know, but at the same time, you know, we're trying to, you know,
I would rather,
manage both sides of this budget, you know, and.
I'd rather take it out of capital, honestly, than,
Okay, well, let's take it out, I mean, let's take it out of there then.
yeah.
Do you have do you have a required time for them to respond since they're on?
Well, our target's 20 minutes.
20 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
So I got a question. How many calls do they respond to? Or can you give us a log of how many calls they answer?
Honestly, the number of calls have been going down because we're seeing the benefit of our right-of-way clearing. You know, as I've told Bart recently, as reliability goes up, you know, outages go down. And then the response, you know, the amount of overtime is gonna go down too. So,
So if it's going down, why do we need to continue funding? If its calls are going down? You said it was going down.
yeah. the
I
number of
I
calls-
appreciate the work that the right-of-way crews are doing. I'm too superstitious to admit, though, that there's a direct relationship. We haven't had any major weather events. response.
Right.
And we can't predict those.
No,
Right,
So I I'm sorry, that's me being skittish, but just keep that.
yeah.
so,
I guess I think I asked the question Saturday. Do you know right off what type of calls, overtime calls they usually go out on? Is it like mostly in Big Island area, blown fuse or kicked out a fuse or?
Up until, I'd say, the past year or so, or maybe 10 months, it was always vegetation.
Okay.
Vegetation, or car crash.
Oh,
We get a lot of car crashes. They,
yeah.
it seems like people in Bedford County like to hit poles. And so we've had a lot of car crashes, and, but other than that, it was vegetation. The vegetation calls are going down. Last one we had was a mechanical failure, which was over there on Longwood.
Right.
So,
So I got a question. Do we have anything in Lynchburg? Would they on call in Lynchburg, anything like that?
that's APCO, the Lynchburg's APCO.
I think he's asking that, what are you asking, does anybody live
I was
that
just
far?
wondering if they had any service, anything they needed service in Lynchburg or anything like that.
Us?
Yes.
No, we don't.
Well, I've apparently seen one down there on Sunday evening a while back.
Well, sometimes-
Driving down Warrow's Road.
Sometimes they have to scrounge for parts.
What parts is open on Warrow's Road?
You know, Lowe's, we do.
Lowe's is on Timberlake
Oh,
Road.
is it? Okay, how about Home Depot? Are they on,
Home Depot is on that off of Grays Mill Road.
okay, well, they could have been going to one. We do buy from Lowe's, mostly.
Look, we cannot have an on-call policy at all that's going to compromise our response time. If that's,
No,
if you're
no.
questioning seeing a electric truck on Ward's Road, I don't know what the answer is. It's probably the person who's on call, and the answer is they go directly from wherever they are to respond to the call. If that's the nature of the question.
I will say, I'm not as, I guess, gung-ho with this, since I've heard some of the numbers. I was thinking there were much larger
Yeah.
numbers there at one point.
In '23, actually, I guess it was the December of '22 when we had Winter Storm Elliott. That blew our budget right there.
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You want to have more than not
Yeah.
enough. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like when I said a while ago, you can't plan for a rainy day in the utility business. You don't know when it's coming.
Yeah.
But at the same time, after Saturday, I guess I feel a little bit better. Now, is there room to tweak? Probably somewhere, but, and I will say, yes, I've spent a good part of my life in this, so, and I'm just throwing this out there. Maybe some of you don't realize this, and I think it's still this way. The utility business, at one point, I think it still is, in the top 10 most dangerous jobs in the country, from electrocution and falling. So it is a dangerous job. Takes a special type person to do it,
Yeah.
and you gotta like it.
Yes.
But at the same time, I'm feeling a little bit better about it, but I still don't know where this, unlike everybody else, this 12 hours came from back in the 60s where, well, maybe they didn't have drug tests like they once did.
Well, I want
I
to be
don't
real straight up. I respect every bit of work
Yes.
they do down there. I'm totally committed to doing what we set out to do and try to get their salaries in line, you know. But at the same time, it's just, I can't understand why it seems like we're just spending more than we're taking in. And maybe some of that is, unexpected expenses, but for me to say we're gonna build a budget that says we're gonna spend $1 million more than we take in, that to me doesn't make good business sense.
Well,
Even though we have the cash sitting there,
we do.
I understand we're gonna use that cash in some capital,
Yeah.
but from a long-term sustainability issue, we can't keep doing that. So
Yeah.
something's gotta give.
No,
We gotta either have a rate study done and demonstrate to our customers that we're under market in our rates, or we gotta quit feeding the spending habit.
Well,
And that's just, I'm just being upfront and honest with you, John,
I
as
understand that.
someone that understands a little bit about some business
I
stuff.
understand that. But when we get our debt paid off, you know, that's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah.
And that's 2 years down the road.
I'm hoping that, like crazy, we can come back in here and cut the heck out of some rates.
Yeah.
And not try to find a way to spend that $1 million.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you then.
But anyway.
And so if we need to cut something,
Let's
take
do,
it out of
let's
capital.
try to build it around the $5. Is everybody kind of, I mean, yeah, I know I've talked a
You know
lot,
what?
but
Yeah, you have, but it's okay. You've been doing some good talk. My thing is, I would like to see them ready and prepared than for us to take away and then have to scramble. Because I'm telling you, maybe y'all haven't rolled around and looked, but they're gonna be spending some time and some money in overtime, because we still have some trees that's on the line, that's growing down on the line. And every time the wind starts to blow, your lights flicker because it's gonna be some work they're gonna have to do. I'd much rather be prepared. But at the same time, if we don't have to spend money, I mean, I can't see us doing it.
so
Yeah,
why don't we go around the room and see where everybody kind of, I mean, to help them kind of make any changes if we're all in agreement. Maybe we're not all in agreement. Maybe y'all, maybe the majority's okay with the $10 and, you know.
Okay, but the $10 expired when we initially.
Yeah, but this budget is saying that $10 has now become permanent.
So it's gonna become permanent, okay, but when we first initiated that, was there a whole lot of pushback on that?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There was a lot of pushback on that, but
Kinda.
they accepted it because they knew it was gonna expire?
Well, and let me go
They knew
back
it was
to,
gonna expire?
that was based on a $1 million expenditure.
Right.
And you only allowed us to recover 800,000.
But see, the risk is still out there.
But again,
that we
that-
have to do that again.
And that's the use of your cash, which is fine.
Right. But the risk is still out there. That could happen this winter. And we have to come in and say, we've got an $800,000 increase in our bill. We're gonna have to recover it. So, I mean, now we've gone from 20 to 30, and then we have a temporary glitch, and we gotta go from 30 to 40, you know.
Well, let me just offer this up. We have $100,000 in the operating budget for contract clearing. We can eliminate that.
You sub for weed spraying, don't you?
Yeah, but that doesn't come out of contract clearing. That comes out of another account.
Let's just see where everybody is on the 10 versus 5 versus none. Maybe, you know, and then we know where, I mean, because at 5, we're there, basically, with the things John's kind of agreed to maybe do, so.
So with 5, we can get to where we need to be.
Well, it's cutting some stuff, and deferring some stuff, you know, it's splitting, what is it, it's splitting the
It's
truck over 2.
175
Right.
down on the truck. You're eliminating a part-time right away, a part-time engineer budget, and then you're decreasing your infrastructure account by 182,000.
And how much was in the infrastructure in the budget?
It takes your new balance to 168.
So we still have some in there, we're not eliminating it. And is there some in that account to roll over at the end of this fiscal year
Yeah, because
possibly?
you haven't spent it.
How much is in there?
We
right?
didn't do any rollovers, any significant rollovers last year.
No, you do have money this year. You have,
I think I think those had to do with contracts that we were,
you have 342,000 remaining as of March.
yeah.
In infrastructure improvements?
Yeah, I don't see us.
You don't anticipate, and so you add another 100, and what was it, 180,
168.
160, so you're gonna have 500,000 in that bucket.
Yeah, we're not gonna roll that over. We have, Ann has convinced me that if we need more money, we come back and get it.
Okay, so you're not gonna roll it over and
Right.
keep it kind of sitting there against cash, is what you're
Yeah,
saying?
so what we were thinking is that helped decrease how much cash we're gonna use in fiscal year '24 by eliminating it and not rolling it.
Okay, all right.
So
So then you've got 160 towards that, and if you need more, you'll come to us and.
So we're well beyond your goal at that point.
For
For the $5.
For $5. So
Well, whether 5 or 10 is permanent this time, right?
Right, yeah, we're,
Permanent.
it will be permanent, yeah.
Now, this would only go into effect July 1st.
July 1st, right. Now, I shouldn't say it's permanent. It's permanent. It's a change in the tariff right now
Until you take it away.
until we can take it away. Yeah, or,
Now, is that something that we can take another look at once we reach that 2-year mark and we don't have that?
oh, certainly. Yes, I would certainly think so, you know, that once you get rid of $1 million debt payment,
Yeah.
you know, now, at that point in time, you make decisions on whether to use cash versus doing debt if you had a big infrastructure project, you know, which we're gonna have.
We're gonna have.
Right.
We're gonna have those down the road. I mean, you got the downtown area, you got the hydro, you got
Right. That's right.
potential solar farm. I mean, so we're gonna have debt down the road.
Yeah.
Anybody thinks we're not,
Yeah.
you know, so.
I'll just give you another example. We were looking at the conductor from Snowden down to Coleman, Centerville substation. That's the original conductor. It's 110 years old. Now, it's working fine. It's working fine. But can we get another 110 years out of it? I don't know.
We're not there on it, yeah.
Get two, that's all I'm asking for, is two. So, I don't know, what do you think, Darryl? You got any thoughts?
So with all the cuts, are we at 5 or 10?
We're at 5.
Okay. All right. Okay, I'm good with that.
Bob, you got any thoughts? 5, 10?
5, I'm good with the 5.
So, I'm good with the 5, but, you know, I would like to see us have a rate study sometime. I understand that you've done that in the past, and I understand that you was good at what you got. I'm not questioning that. But in the process, I think to really put everything into perspective, we know we see through your eyes, and you do an awesome job, not picking on you, so don't take that wrong. But the whole point is, I would like to see something where we have a steady thing where we know where we stand too, like a second opinion, let us say.
Transparency, you know, that it's just a third party
It's not.
validation or, you know, But anyway, CJ?
I guess my question would be, John, are you okay with $5? Can you live with it?
I'd like to see a compromise of $7.50. But can I get by with the $5? Yes, I can do that.
And of course, we can look at this in next year or 2 years, review it. Yeah,
Well,
'cause-
if we get a rate study and like you
Yeah.
said, some type, and it shows that we need to make some changes,
Yeah.
then we got that validation to say, we need to do this because this is what.
yeah, I mean, I'll go along with $5. I'd much rather see the 750 or 10 because I know how unpredictable the business can be. And you just can't plan. What happens this year, you can't base it on next year. You don't know what weather's coming or what the ratio tornado, you don't know what's coming through here. And Lord help us. But I'll go along with 5.
I'd go along with the 5. Sufficient at this.
Yeah, thoughts?
I'm good with 5. John said he can live with 5, and they've come up with where we got it, so I think $5 is reasonable.
I think it's a reasonable compromise. I know it's not, you know, probably not where I'd like to be, but
I was just saying,
I'd rather be at 0,
zero.
but I'm willing to kind of split the difference with you.
I was gonna say, what we gotta do is right, you know.
Right, we got, I mean, you know, but, all I'd like to say is just, as much as we can concentrate on cash, you know, matching cash flow analysis with budget analysis this year is just, I think it would be beneficial for you know, John, you and your kind of management of the organization and just, anyway, I'll leave it at that, you know, just kind of,
If I might say one thing.
certainly.
I also want to say, John, what a great job they are doing. I know what they go through, and it's not easy getting up 12
Certainly.
at midnight or 1 in the morning. That's when you remember your foreign language and say a few words, but you go out and do it because you like it. But at the same time, I appreciate what they do, and I'm happy we can get them up to what I think is a good market salary. I think that's where they belong, what they deserve. Thank you for what you do.
John, again, I'd like to echo what they said, appreciate all the work you do, and, we know you people, have hard jobs and sometimes very adverse weather conditions, and appreciate all their efforts. But you had the APCO figure versus what we're charging. Do you happen to have Southside off the top of your head?
Oh, I don't, but Southside is higher than us.
A lot higher.
Yeah, and, yeah, I can get that, but they are higher than us. Yeah.
Just, if I'm out talking to people and they say, well, why'd you put this $5? Well, here's what we are with APCO, here's what we are, with another person, and just to help paint that clear picture.
Well,
Use Southside.
And it depends on their tariff class too, just as a qual.
we always compare it to APCO, but we're comparing apples and oranges because they're an investor utility and we're a municipal utility. What I would prefer at some point in time is to see how we compare against the other municipal utilities in the state of Virginia. Yeah, I mean, that to me is a more relevant number than always comparing it to AEP, but that's, AEP is in our market, I get that. But, we're, like I said, I mean, they're an investor, they gotta pay their stockholders, and everything else. We've gotta just run it as clean and as lean as we can, and make sure we're providing the service and being reliable and everything else, but, if somebody's doing it a little more efficiently than we are, then, why is that happening, or why are they doing that, or, and I know every one of them's different, they all got different structures, different service areas. I mean, some are in an urban environment where it's a whole lot easier, I get that, so they're never gonna be the same, I get that. But, I just wanna make sure we're not way out of line from kind of what they are.
Yeah, we're not, and most comparable is like Salem, but they work entirely in town.
Right.
So they don't have anything like Big Island.
Right.
There's really nobody that has the type of service territory we have. Martinsville is all in town.
Correct.
Radford is all in town. Richlands is all in town. So,
The Richlands doesn't go outside of
They only serve half of their town limits right now, as a matter
Oh,
of fact.
really?
So, one of the fundamental.
And it's pronounced Richlands.
One of the fundamental differences between us and them is all of our vehicles have to be four-wheel drive.
Right.
You go to Salem, none of theirs are four-wheel drive.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
But we still are competitive with all of those folks.
Okay.
If you get a chance, could you just email the Southside?
Yeah.
So we know
Yes.
the difference?
Yes, I'll
Just send an email, that way you don't have to report it to us.
Yeah.
Actually, she's gonna be talking with their friends and relatives who live
Right.
around, and if they can brag about their rate compared to the others, that
Right.
makes our job a little easier.
That way you don't have to be here to do it.
Yeah, we actually have areas where we're on one side of the street and APCO's on the other.
Yeah.
And we always hear from the APCO people, "Well, I wish I was on the other side of the street," but.
All right.
Well, I just think of the duration we had and how quickly your team got back
Oh,
up
yeah.
into town, yeah.
During the derecho, that Walmart was the busiest Walmart in the country. Because it was the only place to
Someone
go.
open, yeah.
So any other, we got electric pretty well. Is there any other questions on anything else? Do we feel like we're pretty comfortable for Ann to kind of make these changes and have a budget? And I appreciate it. I know things are tight and I get, and we're asking you to be lean and do it, continue to do a great job that you are doing. So, we're gonna get there, we're gonna get some growth, we're gonna get there. This, I think, is a step in a direction that's kind of changing, the culture and how we collect revenues from both citizens and businesses. Hopefully we're not, I don't think we're going too far, too fast. Can't promise anybody down the road what tomorrow will bring, but we're trying to trying to, you know, meet all as many of the priorities and maintain the level of service, you know,
That's the key.
that our citizens have come to expect,
Right.
you know, so.
Is there any questions on the solid waste fund?
I think, I mean, we've got that balanced and we're not, I mean, we don't have it, do we have any capital in there this year? No capital?
No capital.
So, how big of a transfer were we doing from the general to that this year?
So there's nothing budgeted, but right now the solid waste fund is in the hole 58,000 in cash as of March.
So it's gonna be 100,000, we're
Could be.
basically have to subsidize
Again,
roughly
yes.
every year. I mean, you know, unless anybody wants to have the conversation I've suggested, but I don't think anybody does right now, but, you know, so, anyway, no, I think we'll just leave that one kinda, and capital, does anybody have any other questions on general fund capital or anything?
I'm good.
All right, so, I think we'll just kinda take a recess here, a few minutes, and then, cause we're not gonna adjourn, we're just gonna roll into the regular meeting. Unless anybody's got any other questions, I think. No?
Just roll with it.
All right, well, we, take a recess. You know,
We
that-
have,
that's
haven't done
good
that.
stuff.
Yeah.